Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as you can see here that basically in this lecture, we are going to start our discussion over the topic of regulators of banking sector other than Reserve Bank of India. Okay, this is going to be a topic for the discussion. Like we know, generally whenever we talk about the banking sector, so the one name that comes in our mind is the Reserve Bank of India as the regulator because it is an apex institution. Okay. Like if you remember in the previous lectures, we had discussed it in detail that the Reserve Bank of India is actually having a right to control the banking sector as well as the currency system in the economy because it is an apex banking institution in the country. So it's getting a right to control the banking sector and it is the formulator of monetary policy. That's why it controls the currency system, right? This is the what we had discussed. But here we will see that besides the Reserve Bank of India, there are the other regulators of banking sectors as well. And these are different from the Reserve Bank of India because by the definition you could conclude regulators of banking sector other than the Reserve Bank of India. Right? This is what we are going to do. Basically, in this lecture, we are going to cover about the Bank Board Bureau, triple B in short, functions of the Bank Board Bureau. What are the functions? Bank Board Bureau members, like who are the members of the Bank Board Bureau? Indian Banks Association, that we will discuss. Whatsoever are the objectives of Indian banking institutions, that we will discuss. The important committees in banking sectors that formulated over a time period, that is what we will discuss. At last, we will have a discussion over the summary. So this is going to be our path of action in this particular lecture. But before starting this, as usual, we have our small disclaimer presented over here. The disclaimer is like, the images used in a slide deck are for educational purposes only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners of these images. If you are the owner of any of the images used in this deck and have any concerns or issues, please contact us at sathee@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the images. Okay. After understanding the disclaimer, now let's begin with the topic. So here we are going to talk about the Bank Board Bureau or triple B. So basically the Bank Board Bureau is a government institution because it is constituted by the government itself. Now, why the government established it? This is another question. When we already had a Reserve Bank of India, right? So Reserve Bank of India generally regulates the banks through the policy. And the policy of the Reserve Bank of India are generally neutral towards public and the private banks. Generally, we are not talking about some specific cases. Generally, the policies are neutral because they want to control the banking system, not some particular bank areas. But the public sector banks, because they comes under the government, so the government were looking after to enhance the governance of the public sector banks. And in order to achieve this, basically the Bank Board Bureau was established to enhance the governance of public sector banks. Okay. And when it was constituted on that time, Shri Vinod Rai, he was the former CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General of India. He was appointed as the first chairman of Bank Board Bureau. Okay. Bank Board Bureau. With a view to improve the governance of the public sector banks or PSBs, the government had decided to set up an autonomous Bank Board Bureau. However, the government established the Banks Board Bureau, but the government had provided it an autonomy, which means that the government generally not try to control the Bank Board Bureau. All right. And the Bank Board Bureau, it is an autonomous body that will look after improving the governance of public sector bank. The Bureau will recommend for the selection of heads in the public sector banks and the financial institutions. Okay. And help bank in developing strategies and capital raising plans in terms of moral and ethics strategies and capital raisings. The government announced that the constitution of Bank Board Bureau, which will have 3 ex-officio members and 3 expert members in addition to the chairman. Like, one will be the chairman, okay, and 3 will be the ex-officio members, which means they could participate in the meeting but they could not vote. And the 3 expert members who having some expertise in the banking economy matters. So these 7 will be the part of Bank Board Bureau. This is what the government announced after constituting the bureau. But all the members and chairmen, they are not the full-time members. They are the part-time members, which means part-time basis they work in the Bank Board Bureau and the remaining time they do their official works. Now, little bit brief introduction. So basically, the Bank Board Bureau has its genesis in the recommendations of the committee to review the governance of Board of Banks in India. That was happened in May 2014. So basically, the government appointed a committee. So the committee could look after the governance of Board of Banks in India, mainly the public sector banks, because public sector banks are those banks where the government holds the ownership. And in the path of this, the government made a Bank Board Bureau. Thereafter, there was in Feb 28, 2016. The Government of India announced the constitution and composition of the Bureau. Okay. Constitution means the mandate on which the Bureau will work, the roles and responsibilities that define acts, activities, and all the other things. And also what will be the composition of the Bureau, like we have seen just now. 1 will be the chairman, other 6 will be the member. Out of this 6, 3 members will be the ex-officio members and 3 will be the expert members. Okay. As a result, the Bureau started functioning from April 1, 2016. Got it? Announced on February 28, 2016. Established and functioning from April 1st, 2016. As an autonomous recommendatory body, which means they will recommend the provisions and solutions to the government to improve the governance in the public sector banks. But this body will be an autonomous body, which means this body will not control or govern by any government organization in the country. Right? So that is the thing. The objective is to help prepare the bank in the public sector universe to take on the competition, have the ability to appropriately manage and price risk across the business cycles, develop the resilience to generate internal capital, and have the capacity to generate external capital, warding off the moral hazard in counting on the scarce budgetary resources of taxpayers. Got it? The Bureau got also engaged with the public sector banks to help build capacity in order to retain and both nurture both the talent and the technology, which are the 2 key differentiators of business companies in the days to come. Like you can say, if there are 2 businesses working in the same field, like suppose there are 2 banks, Bank A and Bank B. Both are banks, which means the both will compete with each other in the banking sector, right? That is what is meant. So, how one will be higher in terms of growth and one will be lower in terms of growth. So that will be governed by the talent and the technology the banks will hold. Okay. So this generates a differentiate amongst the business companies in the days to come in terms of technology and talent. Got it? Now comes forward While the Bureau is working towards attracting the best personage on the boards, it is these boards which should drive all overall strategy of a bank within its risk capacity and also act as a custodians who should reconcile the diverse interest of various stakeholders. Got it? The Banks Board Bureau, or Triple B in short, it is, as we know, got established as an autonomous body of the Government of India because the Government of India established it. It was actually tasked to improve the governance of the public sector banks. How the public sector banks will work ethically and how they will be in the competing stage. Okay, and the corruption will be minimized. And recommending a selection of chiefs of the government owned banks, like who should be the leader or the chief of government owned banks for some particular time period, as well as the financial institutions for some particular time period, because we know no one appointed for permanent basis, they appointed for some set of duration. And to help banks in developing their strategies and capital raising plans. In February 2016, Modi government approved the proposal for setting up Triple B, and as a result of this started the functioning from April 2016. Okay, or we can say from the financial year of 2016 to 2017. Because 1st April 2016, the financial year begins, ends on 31st March 2016. Right? That is what happens. The Triple B works as step towards the governance reforms in the public sector banks or PSBs, as recommended by the PJ Nayak committee. Okay, and Shri Bhanu Pratap is actually the current chairman of the BBB. All right, it is housed in RBI's central office in Mumbai, like we could say Bank Board Bureau having its office in the central office of Reserve Bank of India in Mumbai. And this was the part of Indradhanush plan of the government. As the implementation of this plan, this particular organization, which is known as the Bank Board Bureau, got established. Now, let's have a look over functions of the Banks Board Bureau. What are the functions? First, to be responsible for the selection and appointment of board of directors in public sector banks and financial institutions, whole-time directors and non-executive chairman. All right. Second, to advise the government on matters which are relating to the appointments, confirmation, or extension of tenure and termination of services of board of directors of the above mentioned levels. Like who should be appointed, who should be confirmed, or who should be given an extension of term if the terms expire, and who should be terminated from the services from the board of directors of above mentioned levels. It is required to advise the government on the desired structure at the board level and for senior personnel for each PSP and FI. Okay. It is to advise the government on evolving suitable training and development programs for management personnel in PSPs and FIs, public sector banks and financial institutions. Okay. Then, to advise the government on the formulation and enforcement of a code of conduct and ethics for managerial personnel in public sector banks and financial institutions. To build a data bank containing the data relating to the performance of PSB and FIs so that the Bank Board Bureau could recommend the best possible strategy and the plan for capital raise by analyzing the performance of PSB and FIs as per the data provided to the Bureau. its senior management and the board of directors and share the same with the government. So the government should be informed with the things. It is to help the banks to develop a robust leadership succession plan for critical positions that would arise in future through appropriate HR processes, including performance management system, to help banks in terms of developing business strategies, capital raising plans, etc. Now, if we talk about the bank board bureaus members, whosoever are the members of bank board bureaus, Shri Bhanu Pratap Sharma, he is the chairman. Shri Debashish Panda, he is the ex-officio member. Mr. Sailesh, ex-officio member. Shri N.S. Vishwanathan, ex-officio member. Miss Vedika Bhandarkar, part-time member. Panja Pradeep Kumar, part-time member. Pradeep Pannalal Shah, part-time member. So this is the current membership, or we can say current membership of the Bank Board Bureau. Like the chairman, right? Then the 3 ex-officio members, Devashish Pandey, Sailesh and N.S. Vishwanathan. Then the expert committee, Vedika Bhandarkar, Panja Pradeep Kumar and Pradeep Pannalal Shah. Alright. It is requested to all of you kindly recheck it time to time because the membership could be changed anytime. This is not, you can say permanent. It is on temporary basis or for certain duration of time. After finishing the Bank's Board Bureau, now let's have a discussion over the Indian Banks Association. Okay. The Indian Banks Association, also known as IBA. So what is this actually? The Indian Banks Association was formed on September 26, 1946, which means during the British India. When it was formed, it had the membership of 22 members. Okay. And if we talk about today's scenario, then today the total membership of the association is 248 members. Out of this, if we break this membership, ordinary members are 136. These are the ordinary members. Associates are 112. These are the associate members. The members comprise of public sector banks, then private sector banks, then foreign banks which having their offices in India, then cooperative banks, regional rural banks, all India financial institutions, and Mr. V.G. Khannan is the current Chief Executive Officer of the Indian Banks Association. Mr. B. Rajkumar is the current Deputy Chief Executive of the Indian Banking Association. And Sri Srinil Mehta is the current Chairman of Indian Banking Association. Alright. Now let's have a look over the objective of the IBA. The Indian Banking Association. First, to promote and develop in India sound and progressive banking principles, practices, and conventions to contribute to the developments of creative banking. Second, to render the assistance and to provide various common services to the members and to the banking industry. Third, to develop and implement new ideas and innovations in the banking services, operations, and procedures. Fourth, to organize coordination and cooperation on procedural, legal, technical, administrative, or professional problems and practices of banks as well as the banking industries. Okay. Now, to initiate advanced planning for introduction of new system of services in the banking industry. Second, to collect, classify, and circulate the statistical and other information on the structure and working of the banking system. Third, to act as a clearinghouse for dissemination and exchange of statistical data, information, views and opinions on the system, procedures and practices, and organization and methods of banks and on the structure, working, and operations of the banking system. Fourth, to explore, plan, coordinate, and organize detailed surveys on banking, business, resources, personal and management development programs of banks and the banking industries. To pool together talent and resources available with the members and to organize exchange of expertise and experience of members for simplifying forms and procedures, for reducing cost of operations, increasing the efficiency and productivity, and for such other common purposes as may be necessary or relevant to the banks and the banking industry. To organize exchange of credit information and opinions, expert information or information and views on any other aspects of interest to the banks or the banking industry. Then, to promote education and knowledge of the law and practice of banking. Eighth, to issue the periodical newsletters, bulletins or magazines, publish books, pamphlets, or other literature on matters of interest to members and to the banking industry. And to project a good public image of banking as a service industry and develop the good public relations. To promote harmonious personal relations in banking industry and to devise ways and means for involving banking personnel in endeavors of banks for growth and development of banking and the economy of the country. To organize, promote and afford facility for indoor and outdoor games or any form of sports, recreation, sports competition, events, cultural activities, social activities, fine arts, social meetings, entertainments, and to organize meetings for the our purpose and to provide for purposes by purchasing, acquiring, taking on lease, own, hire, or otherwise playing fields, grounds, buildings, pavilion, and other facilities. To give financial assistance to individual or bodies from out of its own funds or by collection from its form members or from any other source, and for the purpose of such collection to accept grants, donations, etc., in cash or kind from government, members, other organizations, members of the public, etc., and to collect subscription, membership, and other fees, and to levy fees or charges for the use of the facilities, and to raise funds in any matter to strengthen the financial position of the association from time to time for the purpose of providing education, training, and facilities for imparting basic, advanced knowledge and techniques in games, sports, culture activities, social activities, fine arts, etc., and to give donations, technical and other assistance, sports equipment, sports facilities, and expert guidance to organizer for this purpose, whether it's members or not, to conduct, organize, and all. Then, to found, establish, develop, and finance a separate body for the promotion of objects containing clause and double N and triple N, and generally, and to register it as a society or public trust or a company under the provisions or relevant act as the case may be. To maintain the continuous communication with the representatives of the bank employees, conduct talks, discussion, and negotiations with them, and to arrive at settlements. To provide assistance and guidance to members in interpretation and implementation of awards, settlements, etc. To assist, advise, and guide all members and the smaller members in particular on all their needs, difficulties, and problems of growth, development, and working. Act as an agent or a representative of a member or members in respect of matters connected with any of their operations, working, or administration. To maintain close coordination and liaison with Reserve Bank of India, all financial institutions, chambers of commerce, organization of banking industry, management or educational institute, universities, and such other organizations for realizing the subject and purposes of the association. Generally, to do all and any other thing that may be necessary or relevant for the realization of the objects and purpose of the association directly or indirectly. To carry on publicity for the purpose of educating public opinion with regard to the scope, importance, and activities of the banking industry for creative growth and development. To do all and such other things as are incidental or conducive to the attainment of any or all of the above objects. After finishing this, now let's have a look on the important committees that constituted in the banking sector, like R. Gandhi Committee for Government Securities, MV Nair Committee, Private Sector Lending, Y.H. Maligam Committee, Licensing of New Urban Cooperative Banks, Usha Thorat Committee, Non-Banking Financial Companies, Lead Bank Scheme, Shri Deepak Mohanty Committee, BPLR, Benchmark Prime Lending Rate, Double S Tarapur Committee, Fueler Capital Account Convertibility, HR Khan Committee, Issues related to Rural Credit and Microfinance, Anand Sinha Committee, Export Credit, Dr. Burman Committee, Check Truncation and E-Checks, and Narsimham Committee on the Rural Credit Establishment of Regional Rural Banks, Parekh Committee, Infrastructure Financing, Rangarajan Committee, Financial Inclusion, Public Sector Investment, Computerization of Banking Industry, Gadgil Committee, Lead Bank Scheme, Aghosh Committee, Fraud and Malpractices in Banks, R.K. Hazare Committee, Differential Interest Rate Schemes, as Padmanabhan Committee to review the on-site supervision functions of bank, inspections of bank by the Reserve Bank of India, Abid Hussain Committee related to small-scale industries, Arvind Mayaram Committee for defining clear definitions of foreign institutional investments and foreign direct investments, Bhandari Committee for reconstruction of regional rural banks, C. Rangarajan Committee for poverty scale estimates in the country, Abhi Rao Committee for preparing the blueprint of the India's first women's bank, Nachiket Moore Committee for comprehensive financial services for small businesses and low-income households, Parthasarathi Shoham Committee for the implementation of GAR, General Anti-Avoidance Rule, S.N. Verma Committee 1999 for reconstructing the commercial banks, Deepak Mohanty Committee on Data Information Management in Reserve Bank of India, P.J. Nayak to review governance of Board of Banks in India, Nachiket Moore to permit the non-banking financial companies to work as a business correspondents of bank, Bimal Jalan panel to scrutinize applications for new bank licenses. Here we have finished the topic. Now it's a part for summary discussion. So we have talked about the Bank Board Bureau, like establishment, chairman, and the composition. Objectives we have seen. Responsibilities we have seen. Then we have talked about Indian Banking Association, formation and current leadership. Objectives, key activities, committees related to the banking we have seen. And with this, we have finished this topic. It is requested to all of you kindly revise the facts and figures that all we have discussed in this lecture and keep yourself ready for the next lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture and thank you.